Welcome back. It is day 2 of the Comeback Clinic. Are y'all ready? Last night was fire. This is where as we call it, the so magic happens. Tonight, you are going to see where the data meets the dirt. At Stall High, we love studying the science of speed, and we love being able to prove our results that we're getting. Because what's happening at Stall High through our online coaching platform, we are seeing results like we've never seen before in the history of barrel racing or horsemanship for that matter. Last night, you met our lead stride coach of neuroscience, Leanna Ray. She has spent the bulk of her career in relational neuroscience. She's also done a heavy emphasis on the study of movement and development of the human body. Now she is bringing her expertise to the horse industry, and we're all benefactors because of her passion for understanding the brain to body connection. What we learned last night is most of the information we take in actually is not mental. So you signed up for this clinic because something rattled your confidence. Somewhere along the way, you lost your mojo. Those of you who are on Zoom tonight, what'd you think about day 1? Those of you who are watching on one of the other platforms or you're catching the replay, what is it that you've struggled with? What caused your setback? Was it an injury? Did life happen and you just had to step away for a few decades? Did you go through a traumatic event or accident and things just aren't the same when you're trying to come back? What we learned last night is there is a ton of horsepower hidden in our feet. We did some serious soul searching. We really talked about how the foundation of our footing in the stirrups impacts the kinetic chain. So the ability of the message to go from our body to our brain and back again. There is a direct correlation with our horse's performance, how well they are able to respond to us. It is mind-blowing. It's liberating. It's not our fault. How many of you felt a ton better after listening to Leanna speak last night? To understand that you're not weak, you're not a wimp, you haven't lost your mojo altogether. There is hope and there is power in understanding the wisdom behind it, having new answers. Shelley, will you read some of the comments to us?
Yes, ma'am. So far, we got a thumbs up. Might take them just a minute. Don't be bashful.
Light it up. Light it up
Yep.
in the Zoom, guys. If you're watching and you want to join us on Zoom, sign in for free right now at mycomebackclinic.com.
And Deborah said that's why I joined Attunement 101.
That's one of our classes. We have classes going on every week at Stall High. Online classes, we've got 3 different levels of coaching for people who want to learn this new way of riding. It's a brand new style called attunement. Tonight, we're going to watch videos. You're going to see one horse transform right on screen. We're going to talk about the new stable ride. This is a hip balancing shim. I'm going to share the story about how I created this over a year ago and created it to solve one problem. Turns out it solves an altogether bigger problem. We're going to talk about imbalances in our hips. And how many of you know you've got something to work on? Is it your hands? Is it your timing? Is it going fast, adding speed? Last night, did you learn, hey, my feet could use some improvements? Because if you can keep your feet, you can keep your seat. When there's disruptions in our body and the information we're receiving, there's going to be disruptions up here. So what I have found to be even more difficult than the problems that I know I need to address, my personal challenges, like my timing, my hands, my feet, my seat, those are kind of the obvious ones. What we're going to really dive into tonight are the blind spots, the problems that haven't even registered on our radar yet. And many times they can be much bigger and be causing more irritation to our horses than we realize. And therefore, we think their lack of performance, their lack of focus, their irritability is just their personality, or there's a training deficit. Well, it could be an imbalance in your hips. So let's get going on that tonight. if you will, Ty, please start with that video. Are y'all ready for this? We're going to talk about stable rides. Let me know when you have that ready to pull up. Yeah, okay. So we're looking at one of our riders at Stall High. She's a master level rider, so master class. Her name is Tessa. She's riding her 5-year-old mare named Kiss. Now, really good looking mare, very agreeable. I've ridden this mare several times. She's got a really soft face, like she just wants to please. She wants to do things right. She's got a great attitude about life, and she's coming on strong in the barrel pattern. What kind of stumped us, and what really stumped Tessa and her husband, as they were trying to figure out some of the question marks this horse had. Watch her tail. This is before stable ride. See that swish? How many of you have a horse that rings their tail? Y'all see that? Shelly, anybody here have a horse that rings their tail? Many times when a horse has a question, guys, they literally draw a question mark with their body somehow, some way. And if you're not paying attention, you will miss it. Just got a code on my screen. I'm going to turn that off. So y'all see that mare swishing and ringing her tail? Tessa said they were about to go pay for an MRI to figure out what is making this horse uncomfortable. Is it something physical? She's been to multiple vets. She's had multiple vet checks, good vets, performance vets. They couldn't find anything wrong. How many of you can relate to that? I've met so many people over my career that have just spent thousands upon thousands of dollars in vet exams alone, trying to find a physical problem. What is causing this horse to blow past the first barrel? What's causing them to lose power on the backside? What's causing them to shoulder so bad? Why are they refusing the alley? They were fine 2 months ago, but now they refuse to work. Anybody on here, can you relate to that? Have you spent more money than you care to count on vet exams? How many of you have paid for an MRI?
Kendra, you're muted. You're muted.
Okay. How many of you have paid for an MRI? I paid for twice in my rodeo career. First one, I drove all the way to Louisiana, thought I'll slip down there, drive further, get it cheaper, paid $2,500. Guess what? It wasn't clear enough. I had to go back. So do it again, $5,000. That's just to try to diagnose something. There is no solution in that. So Ty, if you'll pull that video back up, let's watch the after. So when I was explaining these stable rides to Tessa, when I created them a year ago, I thought, man, I'm tired of seeing people buying flimsy saddle pads. And the saddles are rocking. Like saddle pads are too thin. I got muted again, I think. Or somebody else is talking. If y'all would please turn your mics off. So I created this so it would hold the saddle more secure and absorb some of the shock upon impact when our seat hits the bottom of that saddle. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, you're perfect.
Yes. Okay. Tessa, she's one of our master level riders. We're all learning about our blind spots. She knew ahead of time that she has one leg shorter than the other. So she said, Kendra, what would happen if we only put one on the side where I know my leg is imbalanced? Well, son of a gun, why didn't I think of that sooner? Look at the difference in her horse. This is within minutes. Y'all see a change in her tail? Can you see a change in how that mare travels? She's got a bigger, smoother stride. Her head is lower. Immediately when we put these stable rides on her, she dropped her head. We're learning that that's very conducive for a learning experience, because anytime their head comes below their withers, they're learning. They're having a good experience. Anytime that head elevates above the withers, they're going into fight-flight mode. You can train all day long, as many years as you want, and you can try to drill it into them, treat them like they're dumb, but you're really defeating your own self, and you're costing yourself time and money when you do that. So I was really amazed just to see the difference And that turned us on and made us want to collect the data. Like, let's document this progress. So we're going to talk about that later on tonight. These are different shims. Y'all can see that. Okay. They come with an adhesive back. I want people who come to Stall High to get results. So when you decide to invest in us, let's say it's Stable Ride tonight, you're going to get a private assessment with it. So a hip balancing assessment and a personal assignment, not just to help you identify which muscle groups are not firing as fast, but to help you strengthen them and quicken your reaction time. It's helping me a ton. It's helping Tessa. It's helping everyone who's going through this process with us. So we'll tell you more about this tonight. I want to go ahead and get right to it. So instead of having to guess, ride harder, ride longer, we talked about that last night. Sorry, I'm watching. Ty's over here trying to tell me to look at this camera, and I'm watching this. Instead of having to grind and spend more money, spend more time in the saddle, spend more money on exhibitions, spend more money on vet bills, pain maintenance, we're really finding a way to shorten that learning curve and make riding more fun than it's ever been. This is one way we do it. Tonight, we're going to talk about our hips. One thing that, quite frankly, shocked the hell out of me when I started learning how to ride in attunement. Shelly, I think it was my first year. It was my first summer of learning how to ride in attunement. You've kind of given me crap over the years. You're like, Kendra, do you not get bothered by those things? Or like, you never cry about anything. Like, we would have some really tough days sometimes. And all of a sudden I started getting emotional. And I'm like, I need to have my hormones checked or something. Like, why am I so emotional? And Leanna said, oh, no, you don't need to have your hormones checked. It's your hips. You're releasing stored trauma in your hips. What? Did y'all know that's a thing? That fascia holds memory? So when we ride the traditional way that we were all taught, when our hips and our pelvis does not differentiate from our lower back, and when we pride ourselves on riding quiet and sitting in one spot, we might think, I'm doing great. What matters is what they think. If the horse feels like, to them, we feel like a stick tight. You know what a stick tight is? Anybody? They're also known as goat heads. Those stickers in the summer that feel like needles. If you catch one in your finger, or you, heaven forbid, you step on one. Y'all know what that is? So we're learning that the way we were taught to ride, the tack that we've been told to buy that holds our hips static, to a horse, it feels like a stick tight. It's friction. It's not going with the flow of their stride or their energy. It's actually working against ourselves and against the horse, which is why we're all excited to learn about this new riding style, attunement. Leanna, are you ready to go? Because I know you got a lot to teach us about our hips tonight.
Hang on. Yes.
Hey,
Okay. Hey.
last
Oh,
night was incredible, by the way. So just
oh,
the
just got out of
difference I could feel, like, immediately in my
the way.
right toe, the
Mhm.
communication and the ability to ground all the way through my right foot. I
Yes.
wasn't paying attention to that yesterday. I got too many other things on my mind, but just you bringing us, like, up, raising our level of awareness and
Mm-hmm.
connecting the dots. How if we don't have clear communication all the way down to our big toe,
Right.
it's going to cost us time on the clock. It's going to
Yeah.
cost you money, right? This
Yep.
is wild to me. All right, so
Well,
let's
and
talk
we can't.
about those. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was going to say, and it's something again. I'm going to continue to reiterate this. You can't logic your way to those connections. I can't think my way to those connections. I have to feel my way into those connections. I
Mhm.
can't just tell myself connect better to my feet, fix my posture, put my shoulders back, right? If I do that, I'm going to stay in my left hemisphere, which is my left hemisphere does not have access to my body, only my right hemisphere does, has direct access to my body. The right hemisphere is going to say, what position am I holding and why? And how do I need to unwind from that position in order to find my sense of balance and my connection to my hips, my sacrum, and my sit bones? And those, by the way, there's a lot of differentiation. Like when you talk about your hips, you're talking about your psoas muscle, you're talking about your hip bones, you're talking about your pelvis and your jaw, how they mirror each other. As it is above, so it is below. And then you talk about your different sit bones and how you make contact with those sit bones. Do you evenly distribute your weight, or is your body kind of stuck in a torsion pattern where one shoulder wants to move a little bit forward? And you have to we want to explore those patterns, not analyze them, explore them. Analyze is left brain, right brain wants to explore, because once we explore, we can become curious. And then from that curiosity, things begin to change.
And it becomes fun.
Oh, so fun and so intriguing.
Yes.
It does. It becomes so much fun. And really, what we're working with here is that our time outside of the saddle, right? How we move through the world, how we walk, how we distribute our weight in daily life is going to impact under saddle. And that's
So,
why we're having these kind of conversations.
so what got me, like after
Yeah.
I followed Tessa's lead, like I've known now that I'm in Stall High and I'm following your lead, you're one of our lead stride coaches, as well as Michael Richardson, and the things that we're learning from you guys as a duo, it's it's like another galaxy of horsemanship. So I have learned that my left hip was the weakest one. The
Mhm.
muscles in my
Right,
left glutes, my hamstrings, they don't fire as quick as the ones on the right. When I
right.
personally put the left stable ride only, not both sides, my left one on, for Tessa, it's her right. For me, it's my left. I
Mhm.
immediately felt relief right here in my lower
Right.
lumbar. It's an immediate change. Now,
Yeah.
if I wasn't as sensitive, like if I had done this 2 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, because my central nervous system was shot. I was not able to pick up on as many details, the
Mhm.
value in the details. What you said last night, the slow movements are the micro movements. That's where our money's at.
Oh yeah, the
That's where the
micro
results are at.
that's where we create new neural pathways, right? And that's what we're wanting to establish here. And in order to create a new neural pathway, I have to give it my breath, my presence, my awareness, and then a movement. So language and movement is the very first movement that we learned in life in utero. Breath, movement, vocal uterations. That is our most primary form of language. And so when we begin to speak that language more fluently, our cells respond differently, our muscles respond differently, our joints respond differently, because that's the language they were formed with.
Our
That's
horses respond differently.
100%, right?
Their
And
their eyes soften. Their
yes,
footfall softens. They stop
yes,
wringing their tail. They lower their head. They become
their
so much
their
more
hind,
agreeable.
yes, their hind end it comes more up underneath them because I've released my hips. And so and I know we're going to extend the conversation to after this, which is good because I want to talk about primitive reflexes and why, when they're retained, like our
Okay.
startle reflex or fear paralysis, how that can affect our writing. But just for here, we can do this sitting down or standing up, right? You want to make contact with your hips here, like just kind of like find your hip bone. Okay.
Okay.
So as you find your hip bone, you have your right and your left. And so I want you to feel the pressure on your right hip bone and just gently and easily allow the right hip bone to come into contact with your right hand. And see did your left glute muscle have to engage in order to do that, or was it just your right side?
It was
Right?
my right.
Okay,
What about y'all? Drop it in the comments.
did your knee have to tense up in order to make that movement?
Yes.
Right? We're noticing the shifts in other parts of your body, right? And so now go to the left side, and I just kind of like wiggle it. I always call it wiggle it awake, is what I used to tell kids. Let's wiggle that muscle awake. And so right here, now just gently and just allow that contact. What else had to go? My body had to shift. Yep. what else had to go into that movement of engaging your left hip with your left hand.
Hmm.
And just gently, it's just making contact, right? But those subtle and gentle movements, right, are going to be what helps refine how you ride. Now you can go to the back part. This is always a hard one for me. And so for the back, now go into the back and just kind of imagine that the right part of your hip just meeting your right hand a little bit differently. And you could even, if you need to, like just put this hand down and just so you can just engage your right hand.
Ooh, it moves.
Yeah. And for some, it won't. And for some, I felt a lot like you might feel a ton of tension in your arm and in your hand, right? And then relax and then go to the other side. And can this left hip meet my left hand ever so slightly? Notice what other parts of your body have to come in order to help you make that movement.
This one doesn't move as much. Are y'all
Right.
noticing differences in your right and left? I'm curious. So I told you that my left hip was the one that I'm learning through this stall high journey was the weak one. Muscles don't fire as quick. It's not as strong. There's not as much tone, not as much connection here. Guess which barrel cost me the most money over my pro rodeo career? Any guesses? What's going on in the chats?
So far,
Have y'all made
nobody.
this connection?
Yeah.
If I was going to hit a barrel,
Tammy
remember I
says
mentioned
second barrel, second barrel. So would that be the left or the right?
for me it's the left. For me it was
My
the left. So
yeah.
all of those years that I struggled and I drug my daughter up and down the interstate trying to just get in the top 15 and then stay in the top 15 WPRA rank, if and when I ever hit a barrel, it was the left hand barrel, guys. So I'm curious, do y'all have a nemesis barrel for barrel racers on here? Are you starting to make contact? Did your eyes just go, oh dear God? Do you see the connection in your pelvis and your hips? Is there a correlation between the barrel that you hit, if you're going to hit one, and the way your hips are communicating, the way you're feeling them right now? This is
Well,
just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. Leanna?
absolutely. And we have to ask ourselves when we were doing that movement exploration, did we have to hold our breath to do it? That's always a great one to recognize.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, do we have
Oh,
to hold our breath to do it? Because because what that means and why that's important to recognize is because it's just showing us how much energy it's taking from our brain and our body connection in order to engage with that sense of activating our pelvis and activating our hips. Now, here's the thing. We might have challenges due to a lot of medical issues, and Michael will join us in the next in part two
mm-hmm.
because he is paraplegic, so he doesn't have access but to one abdominal muscle, right? So everything below he can't feel, but his
Mm-hmm.
breath still can reach that area and his nervous system can still activate, which is why he's able to get the movements he can from a horse, which is so inspiring for us, by the way, because it means we don't have to be perfect, guys. And right, we're never going to be this perfectly symmetrical. I'm not going to be completely 100% attuned, but bringing my awareness to how my movement patterns might, what place and position they might be in, allows me to more
It
effectively, efficiently
gives us an
communicate.
advantage. It gives
Oh,
us an advantage.
100%.
This is
Yes.
the attunement advantage: awareness, knowledge,
Yes.
education, stall higher education, finding out where are the blind spots, where are the
Yes.
disconnects, what's really costing me the most time and the most money.
Right.
This is
And
what we're passionate about answering.
yeah. And so if your hips are already beginning to awaken, right? And we're in that process, we definitely don't want to get into equipment or aids or tools that restrict that. We go from we're opening up our hips and pelvis, we're getting that movement going, that forward figure eight movement that we talk about that's so important in attunement. And we don't want to then transition into something that's going to put us back into compression, into contraction, if you will, so that if we don't have that flexion, extension, and rotation, if we don't have access to that, our body's going to go into to some degree into self-protection mode. Because if it loses all three midlines, the body begins to go, wait a minute, why have I lost access to that? And those three midlines that divide us top, bottom, front, back, side to
Mhm.
side mirrors our brain because our brain connects in two ways, the left and the right hemisphere, the front and the back, and the top and the bottom. Right. And that's how our brain is developed based off the midlines of our body. And so that's why it's important to understand how movement impacts our way of being, and our way of being with the horses and communicating with the horses is so essential. When we work on the midlines of our body, we're actually making sure that all sides of the brain, both sides of the brain, left, right, top, bottom, front, back, are communicating together. And you do that through movement. You can't just tell it to start working.
Come on. So I think you're kind of alluding to what we love to talk about a lot is our equipment. So there's a huge bandwagon, and it's been like this for years and years and years. It's just escalating. People getting in saddles that are smaller size seats to hold them in, big tall cannos, a cutout dish in the back to help you sit closer to your horse, and sometimes even like the bear trap effect where those swales will roll back trying to hold you in. But if you look at the horses in that equipment and watch the way they move, watch how much dust they kick up. Ask, right? How many times are they having to provide pain relief or injections, SI joints, stifles, hocks, coffin joints, because the amount of impact. When our hips don't move, guys, and we're held in a tight saddle, it's like riding like this. It doesn't just feel like a stick tight or a goat head sticker to a horse's back. It feels more like a jackhammer to their spine. So at Stall High, this new style of riding, attunement, it's helping us differentiate, like break up those old nagging fascia patterns that have held us in restriction, aka fight flight mode. Free up our pelvis so that we can flow with our horse's stride. This is where we're seeing their stride elongate and improve, not just speed up how many times they stomp their feet in the ground, but how light they hit the ground, how much less impact per joint, and how much easier it is for them to speed up rather than having that tight, just constant pounding on their spine. Y'all will start to see differently. Once you see it through the stall high lens of our lead stride coaches, you'll never be able to unsee it. You'll never be able to go to a barrel race again and not be able to immediately recognize, oh, dear God, like we've really fallen into a lot of false beliefs about horsemanship and about performance. So this is very cutting edge, and we have the data to prove how well it works. Leanna,
Well, I can't
anything else you want to talk about the hips?
Well, I was just going to say what you were saying is we kind of left ourselves behind. We've left our capacity to really learn and understand what it means to be an embodied rider, meaning like having access to our own nervous system, understanding what that means, understanding how to cultivate and how to nourish and nurture those senses. What it does is it gives us also longevity in this field, in
Yes,
this work,
yes,
right?
yes.
Because
It
the one thing we know about the process of aging, right, is that we have to keep our senses very highly attuned and aware. If our senses begin to dull, our vision, our hearing, our sense of feel, right? We know neurologically, actually, in the field, that we begin to decrease in our sense of working memory, our capacity to, we lose our field of vision. It begins to narrow. And when that begins to narrow, our nervous systems become more protective. And when we go into self-protection mode like that, we're more at risk for injury, delayed and faulty thinking, depth perception, which of course everyone needs if you're going to be approaching a barrel. You want your depth perception to be on,
on
right?
point.
Yeah, and your timing. And that has to do with there isn't going to be a drill you're going to do on your horse that's going to help you with that. What's going to help you with that is working on your nervous system, which is going to be working with your visual field, which is going to be helping your proprioception, which is going to be activating, right? All of these important muscles that help you with your depth perception,
Yes.
right? Drill won't do that. It's just going to be learning those ways of how to attune your nervous system and ride in attunement.
And your right left brain. So it's really like a whole embodied experience. Leanna, this just, like, I'm always fascinated with what we learn at Stall High and how much we've missed. Like you said, we just didn't know. It's not anybody's fault. It's not whoever taught us how to run barrels. I truly believe that everyone's doing the best that they know how to do. Like, clearly, we're not trying to sabotage ourselves or each other or our horses. We all have the best interest at heart, but there's so much that we haven't known until now, which is why
Mhm.
it's so exciting to get these answers, to have you and
Yes,
Michael come in and bring expertise and research and experience that we've never heard of before until now. So it's very liberating, and we're starting to see the results. We have so many riders, like, seeing their horses change, transform, personalities go from, like, irritable and grouchy to pleasant and happy to see us. Their stride changing, them becoming easy and soft moving instead of choppy strided, easy to get up the alley, consistent smooth turns for barrel horses. It's happening. Personal best times, just like this. We have several riders that are now getting into the pro level. We've got one rider who's now one of our certified coaches, Wendy Ullman. She filled her permit, y'all. She didn't even have aspirations of getting her WPRA card when she started Stall High. Now she is winning with some of the top level riders in the world in the WPRA Texas circuit. It's mind blowing, Leanna. It's
absolutely. Because
absolutely mind blowing.
when your body can move the way it was intended, flexion, extension, rotation, all of a sudden you unlock confidence. All of a sudden, the fear just doesn't seem so debilitating anymore. And all of a sudden, and I'm using that phrase all of a sudden, right? The things in life that seemed like a challenge doesn't seem so challenging, right? And it's because we know how to work through our nervous system and with our nervous system.
Is this encouraging anyone? If you're watching on a different channel and we got your attention, you're like, what did I just click on to? I need this. I want more of this. Reach out to us. Text us. We have a free hotline. Area code 940-291. Look at the bottom of the screen. 9090. You can also click into this live event, this online clinic this week. Go to mycomebackclinic.com. It's free. Register. You'll get the Zoom link so you can participate with us. Leanna, you kind of you you dropped a little spoiler alert earlier. I
I
haven't
did.
told them yet about the VIP option tonight. How many of you are loving this? You're getting value from this. Ty Owens, who's behind the camera, he had an idea today. He said, "Hey, Kendra, what if we did a backstage experience tonight?" And we're going to do that. We still have more to talk about before we're done. But for those of you who, like, this got your attention, hey, maybe that's me. I don't even know. Like, how do I know which side is not firing correctly or which side of my body is weaker or imbalanced? When you purchase Stable Ride hip balancing shims right now, you are going to get a free 1 hour virtual private assessment with our muscle activation coach. He is going to ask you questions. He's going to watch you walk on the camera. He's going to watch you go through some simple moves to identify where's the kinetic chain not firing correctly. And then he's going to give you an assignment. He's going to give you a very specific, individualized exercise so you can start strengthening and quickening the muscle reaction. He's going to improve your reaction time on that side, and he's going to help you decide which stable ride would you benefit from most, left or right. So that comes together as a package. Does someone have the link they can drop in the comments?
I've already
Those
been posting it.
Okay.
It's in.
Those of you who purchase Stable Ride that comes with a hip balancing assessment tonight only, while we are on this Zoom right now, we're fixing to end at 7 p.m. Central. You're going to get the free VIP backstage where you can come backstage. It'll be a second Zoom, so check your email immediately when you purchase your Stable Ride shims. Check your email, get that second Zoom link for our VIP experience tonight. Go backstage, pour a glass of wine, get ready to ask questions. You're going to have more time to listen to Leanna. What was it you wanted to go in more depth about tonight backstage, Leanna?
Oh, about primitive reflexes. So it's whenever we come through shock, our moro reflex, our startle reflex is actually
Mhm.
activated, which is this. And then the next reflex to go into place in order to get you out of that is fear paralysis, which is in. And what do we need to do with that? How do we work with that? How can we test our tonic labyrinthine reflexes, which is our head, our
Mhm.
stability, to basically assess depth perception? We're going to test that reflex tonight and see where we are. Because a big part of this work is just understanding where we are. Understanding the right questions to ask helps us get to the right path. Understanding
So
where our
good.
bodies, it's
This
huge.
is so good.
Yeah.
This is
If we
so
learn
important, guys. So
this.
get it. Like, click the link. Get your stable ride. You get a free 1 hour private coaching assessment with our muscle activation coach to help you figure this out. And I guarantee you, somebody watching, probably not anyone on the live Zoom, but somebody's probably watching on another channel thinking, I'm protective mode. I've been riding horses for 49 years. Good for you. Have you plateaued? Are you still trying to get better? Is there still, you still have a gold buckle list? Have you considered what you're missing? This is it. These are the blind spots. When our central nervous system, those are your primitive instincts that you can't override mentally. You've got to change the fascia. You've got to change the body first. The brain will follow. Are y'all listening? This is how we're getting different results at Stall High. So when you purchase something from us, we don't want you to just have a product. We want you to know how to use that product and get the highest return on your investment over and above, and to feel the reward that you've never had before, the results that you can't put a number on, you can't put a price tag on with your horse. Let's talk to Hallie real quick. Hallie Self, you're in our program. You came in a little bit as a skeptic. If I'm correct, I'll let you kind of tell your story. Um, you were at a low point in your barrel racing career. Why was that?
Give her a second. She's probably trying to find her mic.
Okay. She got to come to our last rider reset lab. That is so far and stall high above any clinic experience on the planet. It is limited to 5 riders only. We do it here at the ranch. That's where you have an opportunity to ride with Leanna as she watches your posture, identifies where the energy's blocked in your body, puts hands on you, does what she does, and it is so magic. What does that mean? That's just our term in place of somatic. So I'm not saying it's actual magic, but it looks like it. It's somatic. It is a somagic experience, and things change. Things change within our body immediately, and the horses start to respond. Hallie, are you with us?
Hey,
Hey, so why were you at such a low point in your career when you found Stall High?
well, I had actually taken a couple years off of barrel racing and was working, just trying to get life together basically. And I came back, and when I was, before I took my break, I was running with the pros, not not trying to fill a card or anything, but I could go out there and I had all the 1D barrel horses, I'd just hop on anything, go ride them. And I came back, I took a horse out of the pasture that belonged to my family since he was a weanling, and I had him trained on the pattern, took him out, and we couldn't win for losing. I was donating
Mm,
entry fees, donating entry fees. Um, Gas bills were getting high, couldn't afford those. Entry fees were even higher. And I was just to a point where I looked at my husband and I said, "Well, I can't do this anymore. I can't afford this. I can't continue to keep going and hit a barrel every single time. I can't afford it. If something doesn't change, the horses have got to go, and I've got to find something else to do with my life. It's just
mm.
this isn't going to be it for me."
But this has been your lifelong dream, like me, am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Since I was a little kid,
Are you riding right now?
I am.
Are you on Vegas right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tell us, what
Oh,
changes have you seen in your horse, and what changes are you noticing in yourself?
girl. So we'll start with Vegas first. When I bought her as a yearling off of a ranch out in West Texas. She's not barrel bred. She's bred to be working on a ranch chasing cows.
And waspy.
Yeah, and to be waspy, she's got some Hancock in her. Um, and when I got her, she was sold to me as halter broke only. So I did all of her groundwork, just based off of what I knew and using the some other methods that I had learned from previous years riding. And she was a stud colt. This mare had she didn't care. Me and her just we butted heads. We got into it almost daily.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, to the point this mare literally pushed me through a fence in front of my husband, and like my husband thought she was trying to kill me. And he came back and he was like, "I don't know if you need that horse anymore. Like, she's a yearling. She's acting like this. I don't think you need her. Like, she's dangerous."
Mhm.
And I just kept telling him, I was like, "No, no, no. She's just, she's a mare. She's a mare. It'll be
Mm.
fine. She's a mare."
But it
And
was really her central nervous system. So she
yes,
herself was stuck in fight flight all the freaking time. The
she
horses that
was.
get blamed and we kind of blow it off kind of cute, but it's not cute. Oh, she's just a mare. She's just moody. Oh, he just gets on the muscle. He just loves to run. No, he doesn't. That is fight flight mode, y'all. Look at their eyes. Look at how they carry their head. They hollow out in their back. And what do? Instead of tracking correctly with their back end, they spread and start to paddle. That's when we start to tear up the joints and put unnecessary pressure. It would be no different than me going to the gym trying to lift weights and not bending at the knees and not using my glutes. So Hallie, how is she now?
Oh, she's a dream. In fact, she will now come from the back 40 of the pasture to come see me. She's happy to go ride. She's excited to come out and work the pattern or even just go for a beach ride now. It's not, I don't have to chase her around. We're not arguing. We actually take a bit now. Beforehand, she would not take a bit. I rode her in hackamores and halters only. I swore up and down this mare was not going to take a bit. I'm pretty sure I even argued with you, Kendra, over her taking a bit. And now we ride perfectly in a little bit of love. We have been working on the barrel pattern. I don't think we've ran since sometime maybe June of last year, maybe before then. Oh no, it's probably been
Mhm.
March of last year, so probably about a year now.
Mhm.
And we're finally getting ready to go to our first little barrel race.
Awesome. So what has changed in your hips? Can you talk a little bit about a little, difference about that? What do you notice now in your body? What's different about Hallie?
I'm a much nicer person. Um, I'm more excited to come ride. For a while, I had actually lost all motivation to come out and ride my horses. I didn't want to. It was like I would have to sit in my house and convince myself, or my husband would have to convince me, "Hey, you need to go ride." And now I don't have to do
Mm.
that. My hips are more free. I've still got stuff to work on. Thanks to the Rider Reset Lab, I figured that out. Um, so we're working on that and hoping that, I can get my hips freed up and hopefully help her.
Yeah. So you were one of the riders that actually had the privilege of coming to the ranch and you got to work with Leanna in person. What was that like? How does that compare to another, a barrel clinic per se, or another
Holy
horsemanship clinic?
smokes. That is that was just magical. Um,
Yeah.
you know, I've I don't believe in magic, but Leanna works magic. That I've never had it happen before in any other barrel clinic, and my shoulders have never felt so great. I've never felt like I had a weight lifted off my shoulders like I did when I sat there with Leanna. Leanna lifted
And
a
it
weight off my shoulders, and I haven't had it back.
and it's not a chiropractic adjustment.
No.
It's not. It's completely different. It is a somatic, and we call it somatic because that's our fun term for it. It is adjusting your central nervous system so that things flow, making sure the fascia is not knotted up and interrupting the communication and your ability to do what you want to do. Be regulated, engage your right and left brain. We can get stuck in fight flight too and not even know it. Like we talked about that last night. Like, how many of you feel like you can't win for losing? You're once you kind of get like stuck in that rut, your central nervous system is predisposed. Once we are stuck in fight flight, there is a much higher likelihood of other things happening that we don't want to happen. Other things just going to hell in a handbasket. This is how we break that vicious loop. So Hallie, I'm thrilled for you. And you said something that's super cute on camera. I don't know if we shared it yesterday or not, but we said, what'd you think about Rider Reset Lab? Was it worth your investment?
It was worth way more than my investment. I told my husband the other day when I found out you guys were doing it again, I was like, hey, you got anything you can get rid of? Because I want to go
I
back.
want to go. And you actually went and got a loan to come to that Rider Reset Lab. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that was just super cool to see your horse participate, come over and be part of what Leanna was doing with you, to see like your eyes change, your posture change, your hips open up, how Vegas traveled. It is magical to watch. I'm getting chills just retelling the story.
I've got
And
chills.
Kendra, I
And
want to jump in because the thing that I'm loving seeing is Hallie was talking before the Retta reset, like her jaw was locked, and now her
yes,
jaw is moving freely.
and there's a
Isn't it?
jaw hip connection. There's
Yes,
a jaw hip
yes.
connection. And what was also cool, so her husband came with her. Rob's, helping drive, and he said he grew up ranching, but he tries not to ride horses anymore, but he knows a thing or two. But you could tell like he's here to be supportive. He's your driver, he's your cheerleader, he's your support team, but he had business calls to make. While you're out in the arena, he's checking on the truck, he's making calls, he's hanging out by the tractor. And then towards the end, he's like walking by going, what are y'all doing? And I said, Rob, do you see a difference? He said, heck yeah, I do. He said, before it looked like he was trying to, how did he say it? Like your upper body was trying to ride with the horse, and now
Yeah, like I was.
your lower body's riding with the horse.
Mhm. He said
And
it looked
you're
like I was just kind of like flinging my upper body around trying to get it to
yeah,
move.
and you're a hand, like you've been born and raised on the back of a horse. You've trained your own horses. You've gotten to the top. So it was really cool. And then by the end, he was like, "Well, hey, can y'all work on my C4?" Like, how do I get a seat in that chair? So it's just really cool to see that. Sherry, I'm glad that you spoke up. Hallie, thank you for being here tonight and making time to share your story. Sherry McKenzie, before we end, tell us about the data. So you have scientific proof how well these work. What are we looking at?
Those are the stable rides, and just like you, I have issues with my hips, and I've actually had both of my hips injected before, and been struggling with some issues with. I think the second barrel is my nemesis right now, and I ride a left-handed horse, and so of course that's our right-handed turn. And so we got the stable rides out the other day, and I'm trying to read this on my small screen. And so this was my first reading of, I think, does that say 6 to the right, and a little bit to the back. And so that was with no stable rides, just a regular pad, just the way we normally ride. And
You felt centered. Is that right?
And I did, yes. I felt centered and balanced. And I've been doing a lot of work on my posture and getting body work done. So, I felt like I was making huge strides. And then we take this reading. So it is improved from where I started. So it was encouraging that I had made some progress there. And then I can't blow this up since I'm on, and you can see bubbles. It's right there. We're at barrel practice tonight. And so his stride was I think it's about 4.5 feet. And so, not too bad for, what we were doing. So then if you go to the next screen, it'll show you that when we put the stable ride on my weak side, which is opposite from you, mine's on the right side. So if you flip, I think we go from like 6 to the right to, Ty, can you take me to the next screen? Yeah. I think it's like 1 something to the right.
Ty,
so
yep. Is that the next screen right there?
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Okay.
We just want to look at the data at her second progress one. Yeah, so if we can get the second one up there, yeah. It was in the same email.
And so what I thought was kind of interesting, because you were convinced you were going to need a left side stable ride. So you're like, no, Kendra, because
No, Kendra.
we tested the left, we tested the right, we tested
Yes.
both, and we
Yes.
tested no stable rides. And you're like, it's going to be the left, it's going to be the left. It was not.
It was not. And I even sent him that slide too. The data, I had to see the data in order for me to get it out of my brain that it was definitely the right one. Is I couldn't argue with the data. It felt different and I could acknowledge that, but my brain just didn't want to accept that was better.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, let's do the both of them then, and then let's do the one I think it should be. And I don't think has he changed yet?
Have you changed it yet, Ty? Let's look at the next screen.
I need the second one
Bubbles
on Bubbles.
with.
And so with the stable ride, it, you know, I went a little bit heavier to the back, and then I was almost centered to the right, you know, a little bit to the right, but a lot better than what I was. His stride lengthened. And so, you know, he was more comfortable, and I know you were there and you're like, oh, look at his, you know, and I could see it. His head dropped. He was more comfortable. He was happier. Is that it?
And I'm not sure. I'm trying to look at a smaller laptop. Is
Yeah,
that the last one she sent you?
It is.
Ty?
It's your second one.
Okay.
Okay. And that
Okay.
then, yeah, because the stride got bigger. He went from 4.5 to about 5.25. So, you know, and that was just from changing that put that stable right on.
So let's stop
and
right
so,
there. What would, even if it's just 12 inches, even if it's just an extra foot of
Yes.
how far your horse travels, how much would that help your time?
Oh my gosh,
Whether you're
huge.
a barrel racer, a
Yeah.
roper,
Yep.
like how your horse moves, Western pleasure riders. Do you think this would help you? How many saddles have you purchased? How many saddle pads have you purchased? Trying not to get that saddle to slip. Are you constantly having to pull your horn back to the middle? I just thought it was
Yeah.
a fluke thing. I couldn't figure it out because I was like, oh, whatever, you know, it's just a thing. I didn't realize how many thousands of freaking dollars it was costing me every year, me running up and down the interstate, coast to coast, trying to stay in the top 15. Why,
Yeah.
like, man,
And
this is freaking hard.
this was so cool because I say, you know, the device says you want to be right at 0, but for us, I think we really want to be like 1 on the back, you know, a little bit off, but a little bit more on the back. We don't want to be super heavy on the back, but we do want to have some little additional weight. And so here I come in at 1.2. I mean, almost nailed it. And then the lateral balance too is really, really close to the 0 mark. So I was thrilled about that. Picked up the lengthening stride. And so Ty, do you have the third screen too? Because this is the one that I was finally like, okay, I accept it.
Okay.
I was wrong.
He's looking.
The data was in a
looking.
separate email. And this is the one that I really had to eat humble pie. And what it basically says is it's back to where like the original screen. I was almost exactly back to where I started. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and here I thought, oh, this is going to fix it. It's got to fix it. And, but when I got on, I'm like, I was expecting it to feel better and it didn't. And I'm like, yeah. And so I was like, okay, I was wrong, you know, but when you get that thing stuck in your head, this just really helped me process it, is that I would, you know, had the data to look at too, because I was really fighting the results and going, no, it can't be that. Can't be that.
And your horse, but your horse changed. So he's had a hip injury before. Our muscle activation coach was there the day that we collected data on you and the stable ride system. And he said, well, look at how he's standing. So Bubbles is not here, but let's use Daisy as an example.
Yeah.
So he noticed right here in front of the hip bone, like I believe it was his left side was more filled out. On the right side, scoot over, there was a huge divot, like a hollow spot. And I was like, well, son of a gun, I've never even paid attention to that before. But this was like sunken in. You could put your hand in it. You could see it. And after we put the correct side stable ride on, and that horse could stride up under himself, his hips improved too. And when we were done with the ride, Thomas said, now look at his hip. This hollow spot started to puff out. And we were like, oh, why did that happen so fast? And he said, blood flow. Hello.
Yes.
Now you're circulating. Now you're getting blood flow and energy to that spot that was asleep. This is
Yeah.
crazy, y'all. We've never been able to prove it. We've never had devices like this, technology. Like what you're seeing this week in the Comeback Clinic, this free clinic that anybody can come to, is just a little teeny tiny free sample. It might be better than anything you've ever paid for, but I want y'all to realize what's really going on every week in our classes is like will forever change the history of horsemanship. And that's really exciting to be able to be part of that, pioneer something so brand new that's getting results like this. As we close out tonight, thank you, Hallie. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Leanna, for being here. Those of you who want to continue the conversation will be more informal backstage tonight. So click the link. It is tonight only. This is your special offer tonight. When you purchase Stall High Stable Ride Hip Balancing Shims, you're going to get a free private 1-hour assessment. It's virtual, super easy. You don't have to drive to Aubrey, Texas. We're going to connect you with our muscle activation coach so he can evaluate and assess your posture, figure out, is your pelvis crooked? Which side would help you most, the left or the right? And then he's going to give you an exercise assignment to start bringing those muscles to the party. Wake up so you can strengthen, tone, and speed up your muscle activation on the side that you're the weakest. You talk about an advantage. This is the attunement advantage. Those of you who purchase right now before we end, we'll give you 5 minutes. So 5 minutes after we end, we're going to start that backstage VIP experience tonight only. As soon as you purchase this, check your email because you will get that private secret link to go backstage with us. Leanna's going to be there. She's going to talk about those primitive reflexes. Again, most of us aren't even aware of it. I guarantee you they're not, because the mainstream barrel racing style is still this right here. Leanna, close us out. What is this signal? Because we've been doing this for a good 40 years in barrel racing.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So say that again. It kind of cut out.
So this posture right here
Yeah.
signals fight, flight. How so?
Yeah. It's protection. I'm coming into my body. That's the startle reflex. This is fear paralysis. It's like I got to protect myself. And if I have to protect myself, what happens at the cost of that, again, is my capacity to be responsive. And so it's how do we move our bodies back into responsivity, right?
Yes.
That's the question we have to always ask. How do I move my body into this space of confidence? But again, it's moving your body into, but it's having that path of movement that we have to have. Those are the conversations we've been needing to have, and we get to have them now.
Yes. And so even if this is working for you right now, you better look out because we got some stall high riders coming up. They're learning a new style. We're changing the game. We will forever change the history of horsemanship and the sport of barrel racing. And if this is your comfort zone right now, maybe that's working. Maybe that's been your go-to style for 100 years or your career, and it's served you well. Things are changing. And if you've been able to win like this, imagine what you can do when you learn to differentiate your pelvis and you're no longer confined. Imagine how much happier your horse will be. How much would 12 inches in stride benefit you? What if that's a half a second right there? Even if you're already winning at the pro level, those of you who feel like you're stuck in the 4D, 5D, do you now have new hope? We have so many riders that came into our program like, I'm inconsistent in the 3D. I've been in the 4D for 15 years. Now they're climbing on up the ladder, 3D, 2D, 1D, pro level. We've never seen results like this before. So I'm excited to see you backstage. We're going to close this one out. For those of you who made the investment tonight, we want to take care of you, give you more than your return on your investment, but reward you. We will see you in that backstage experience that starts live in 5 minutes.